Good Friday morning. This again is John's Gospel, but it's the 14th chapter. Boy, this is a potent one. It's just a continuation of everything that's gone before, both the spread of the church, okay? It's apostolic mission to the entire world, but the centrality of Christ, the Good Shepherd, and, okay, he who calls us. See? He calls us by name. I'll read the text here. He doesn't say that in this text, but that's what he's saying, meaning. Jesus said to his disciples, "Do not let your hearts be troubled." Boy, what a great line. When I think of our young kids today, how troubled they are, how frightened they are about life. I worry about my kids in class. They're scared, and there's studies been shown that sociological studies, our kids are really under a lot of stress. And I tell them, don't let your hearts be troubled, believe in tomorrow, you see. And the way it says in the gospel, you have faith in God, have faith also in me. And me means Christ, okay? The church. Have faith in God and faith in the church. Have faith in tomorrow. God calls us into tomorrow, not to the past, but to tomorrow. You see? In my Father's house, there are many dwelling places. All peoples of the world. See? All peoples of the world. It's John at his best, you see? If there were not, would I have told you that I'm going to prepare a place for you? And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come back again and take you to myself. I'm guiding you. See, the Good Shepherd. So that where I am, also you may be. I'm not forcing you. I'm calling you. I'm walking ahead of you. I'm a shepherd. Follow me. Trust me. Follow me. And follow those whom I've sent in my name. Follow the church. Listen to her with both humility and wisdom. Even with some piety if you need it. But most of all, listen to her genius and her wisdom, even when she is very, very clumsy about it all. The apostles were not geniuses. Only Paul and John. The rest were stumblebums. But they got it done, and they died for the church. They died for Christ, you see. Changed the world. Okay? I will come back, see, so that where I am, you may be also. That great line. Where are you? Where I am going, you know the way. Thomas said to him, Thomas always got the great one-liners. Master, we didn't know where you're going. How can we know the way? And this is the greatest of all lines. Jesus said to him, I am the way, the truth, and the life. I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except to me, through me. I am the way, the truth, and the life. That I believe with all my heart and soul. Christ is the way. He is the truth itself. He is the wisdom of God incarnate. He is life itself. This life and the next. He is the wisdom of life through love. The love of the cross. Christ's love on the cross. That is really true. And that, I believe, is also, the church can say, I am the way, the truth, and the life. Despite myself. Christ didn't need to throw that one-liner in there, but the church does. Despite our fallibilities, our sinfulness, our stupidity at times, but ultimately our fidelity to Christ, to the gospel, and to the world that we serve, and all our fallibility, especially the hierarchy of the church, which has been the consistent scandal of the church, has been in the hierarchy. I'm being the priesthood, okay? Me too, included, okay? I'm not just knocking popes and bishops. I'm talking clergy. There's a line in the monastery, God saves the church despite the clergy. There is really a profound truth in all that if you look at the history of the church, and yet you see her vitality. Even despite, in accordance with the failures of the hierarchy, you see the Teresas of Calcutta, or you see best. To me, my hero is Catherine of Siena. She went around to those three clowns and say, hey, boys, get it straight. The three guys trying to be pope, not because of their love of Christ, but for their love of power and wealth. Talk about corruption. Holy cow. I remember during the Second Vatican Council, I was so scandalized by it all because I was so shaken from the piety of the 50s collapsed like a house of cards. And I was stationed in Jamaica at the time, so it was between 63 and 65, probably around 65. And Father John Joe Reardon taught us philosophy. He was a wise man. And one day I confessed to him in a way how I feared for the church. And he said, if the church can survive the Renaissance, you could survive anything. That was a great one-liner. I've never forgot that line, because in the heart of the Renaissance, you had absolute corruption. Sometimes you go to St. Peter's and you go to those great churches of Rome, and and you think, wow, ooh, those things were built on, oh my God. They were neo-pagan. In the name of Christ, they were neo-pagan. They came from selling indulgences and all the rest. That led to the Protestant Reformation. It was necessary. You had to see that God could write straight with such a crooked line. So people like you and me go to St. Peter's and we see the great work of Michelangelo, who was a pagan. Got paid to paint that, to throw paint on that wall, but he was damn good at it. See? If he probably was in another continent, he'd have painted it, whatever. But he got paid to paint, and he changed the world. God writes straight with crooked lines. He didn't say he had to be perfect. He had to be faithful. He was as faithful as a pagan could be. He became a Christian at the end of his life. He was a fellow Tuscan. Tuscany is the only part of Italy that really struggled with believing. I understand I'm a Tuscan, okay? I remember a story saying about, I read an article in National Geographic about 50 years ago saying about Tuscany. It's the center of the Renaissance art, okay? But also fierce independent. You had to know my father and mother. Fierce independent, very little piety. They were Christians, they were Catholics, but, you got to throw a but in, anti-clerical. You got to see it. But they produced the Renaissance. And in that odd sort of way, they provided the artwork that has inspired the souls and hearts of people for generations. God writes straight with many a crooked line. I mean, trust the church. I believe in Christ. I believe in the church. I have faith in him, and I have faith in the church. I have faith in her fallible infallibility. Fallible personally, infallible in how she preaches the gospel. I believe that. I'm a son of the church, and I believe in the church. I don't look for perfection except in Christ. But in the Christ body, the church, I see holiness, but a holiness through redemption, not innocence, redemption. A sinful church always self-redeemed through Christ. Christ redeems himself, redeems the church herself in himself, and writes straight, often with a very crooked line. I love the story of the church. If there's any proof of the existence of God, it is the survival and flourishing of the church itself. Left to itself, it should have self-destructed 1,000 years ago, especially during the Renaissance, and it didn't. Instead, by its crooked lines, it produced art that has changed the hearts of many people in the world and inspired them. See? That's the church. Learn to love the church in her fleshiness. Don't look for innocence. Don't look for piety. Look for holiness that comes through redemption. Not innocence, redemption.